All right, let's talk about Roku. You know, that little purple stick? Or maybe your TV has it built right in. For millions and millions of us, it's how we get to our Netflix, our Disney Plus, all of it. But what if I told you that the real story of what Roku is and how it makes its money? Well, it's one of the most interesting and misunderstood stories in all of tech. So let's just start with this question right up top. What if that little box you paid for, that Roku player or that TV, is actually the least important part of their entire business? Yeah, you heard me right. And that one idea, that's the key to understanding everything. Because you see, Roku has this huge secret that it's been carefully building for years now. See, most people look at them and think, oh, they're a hardware company. But that's not it at all. The reality is something way, way bigger. And honestly, a whole lot more profitable. Okay, so here's the truth. Roku is not a hardware company. It's a software company. Its real product is its operating system, the Roku OS, which is the #1 TV streaming OS in all of North America. You got to think of them as the digital gatekeeper. They control that main screen you see when you fire up the TV. And because they control that, they get to be the toll booth, taking a little piece of all the ads and subscriptions that pass through their system. To really get how this all works, you have to split Roku's business into two pieces. I like to call them the engine and the bait. It's a classic strategy, really, but Roku has pretty much perfected it. And this slide, wow, it just says it all, doesn't it? Look at this breakdown. A massive 87% of Roku's revenue comes from its platform. That's the software, the ads, the good stuff. Only 13% comes from the actual devices, the physical stuff you buy. I mean, the numbers don't lie. And here is the strategy laid bare. The hardware, that's the bait. They sell it at, or sometimes even at a loss. I mean, they literally have negative gross margins on their devices. Why would they do that? Simple. It's not about making a buck on the box. It's about getting that box into your living room. Because once you're in their world, they get to turn on the engine, the super high margin platform business with an incredible 52% gross margin. That's where they make the real money. So how does this engine crank out over $4 billion a year? It's a few key things. They've got digital advertising. They get a revenue share from services like Netflix when you sign up through a Roku. And then they have their own service, the Roku channel, which has gotten surprisingly huge. Get this, it now accounts for 3% of all television viewing in the entire United States. That's an enormous audience for them to sell their own ads against. Now for years, Roku was all about one thing, growth, growth, growth. Get those devices into as many houses as humanly possible. But in 2025, you could feel the shift. They finally started to turn on the money spigot, and that incredibly powerful platform engine started churning out some serious profit. Just look at this profitability growth. In 2025, they pull in about $300 million, but the forecast for 2026, it's a staggering $635 million. That's more than doubling their profits in a single year. The model isn't just working, folks, it's accelerating like crazy. And all of this is building towards one very big, very important number that Wall Street is obsessed with, 100 million. That's their target for streaming households in 2026. If they hit that, wow, that cements their scale, it solidifies them as the dominant player in the living room. It creates this massive audience that advertisers are just desperate to get in front of. Okay, so they've built the audience, they've turned on the profits, so what's next, right? Well, Roku is definitely not just sitting back. They have a really clear plan with some major catalysts lined up to keep this amazing momentum rolling right through 2026 and beyond. There are three really important things to watch. First up, syndication. They're taking their own content from a service they call Howdy, and for the first time ever, they're licensing it outside of the Roku ecosystem. Second, they're getting heavy into AI personalization, using it to predict what you want to watch, which makes your home screen way smarter and, of course, their ads more valuable. And third, they have a huge partnership with Amazon that's flooding their platform with new ad dollars, which helps keep their revenue growing. But let's be real, this is a high-stakes game. When you operate at this kind of scale, you're going to find yourself right in the crosshairs of the biggest companies on the planet. For Roku, the future is this battlefield with huge opportunities on one side and some pretty serious threats on the other. The opportunities are absolutely massive. The 2026 elections are going to mean a flood of political ad money, and a lot of that is going to land on platforms like Roku. Plus, they're pushing into new things like shoppable ads. I mean, literally letting you buy a product you see in a show with a click of your remote. And they're building out partnerships with retailers like Walmart to bring even more of that commerce right to your TV screen. But the threats, they are just as real. You've got Google and Amazon who have way deeper pockets, and they are coming for this space hard. And if the big streaming services start merging, Disney and Max and others, Roku could lose some of its leverage as that neutral player in the middle. So the bottom line is they have to keep innovating fast. And this all leads us to the ultimate billion-dollar question that really hangs over the whole company. What's the end game for Roku? Is it going to stay this powerful, standalone giant? Or is it just destined to become a takeover target for an even bigger fish? You hear these rumors all the time about a Netflix-Roku merger. And honestly, it makes a ton of strategic sense. Netflix is this content empire, right? But it lives inside operating systems built by Apple, Google, and Roku. For Netflix, buying Roku would mean they finally own the entire customer experience, from the moment you turn on the TV to the moment you hit play. So that's what it all comes down to. That's the final question. Has Roku built something so essential, so valuable, that it can become the neutral operating system for the future of all TV, kind of like a Switzerland for the streaming wars? Or has it just become so successful, so powerful, that it's inevitable one of the very giants it helped create is going to come along and swallow it whole? The next few years are going to be fascinating to watch.